Hi, this lesson is on typographic design. So, yep, this is it. It's all about type this time and how we're going to format it. And then we're going to be able to continue working with the model that we did in the previous lesson. And we're going to be able to get that finished out today. All right, about type. A Photoshop type layer is made up of vector-based shapes that describes the letters, numbers, and symbols of a typeface. The most common typefaces used in Photoshop is TrueType and OpenType. When you type on an image, the characters are made up of pixels that can appear jagged when you zoom in on them. However, Photoshop preserves the vector-based character outlines and uses them to resize or scale type or save as a PDF or an EPS. This does allow for crisp edges. Okay, let's go ahead and get this lesson file open then. Lesson 7. All right. So this one is 07 start. It is a Photoshop file. And this probably looks really familiar to you because you guys just pretty much got done working with the model, the pattern fill, and the blue episode background in the previous lessons. So now we get the opportunity to finish this project up. Okay, before we get started on it, I'm going to go ahead and do a save as and put this in my file folder. For lesson 7. And this will be 07 working, and it's already a Photoshop file. Okay, so there it is, 07 working.psd. All right, the next portion of this lesson is on creating a clipping mask from type. This is something that we did talk about very briefly in the last lesson on channels and masks. So now we get to revisit it. A clipping mask is an object or group of objects whose shape masks other artwork so that only the areas that lie within the clipping mask are made visible. You are clipping artwork so that clipping artwork to the visible pixels of the layer, okay? So that might not make a lot of sense to you right now, but it will here in just a minute. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to drag a vertical guide down, okay? So what I need to do is I need to make sure that my rulers are showing and that they are set to inches, okay? If your rulers are not showing, you want to make sure that you go to View and Rulers, all right? And then I want to make sure that I am dragging over a vertical guide, and that will be right at 4.25 inches. All right, so I'm going to select my pattern fill because now when I select my horizontal type tool, it's actually going to place that type layer directly in front of or on top of, according to the stacking order in the layers panel, okay? They give us everything that we need in order to be able to put the font size and the name of the font and what color it needs to be and all of those formatting. We can go ahead and do that now. And if any of them wants to misbehave, especially on the font size, you can go ahead and select it and then of course edit that after the fact. It's always the font size that wants to change. All right, so it's going to end up being Myriad Pro, semi-bold. The book actually, I believe, has you guys using Minion Pro to start. And then on the next page or two over, they're eventually going to have you change that to Myriad Pro. So I'm just going to cut to the chase, and this is the one that I'm going to use. All right, so Myriad Pro. And this one is going to be semi-bold, 115 point on the size. Make sure that it's centered. okay? And then I'm going to go ahead and pop out my character here, and I'm going to change my tracking to 50. And, you know, from the chapter on layers, when I used this horizontal type tool the last time, it was that grassy green color. So not that it matters because we're going to end up using a clipping mask. But I'm just going to go ahead and change this. Oops. Just for me. And I'm just going to make it, I mean, you can make it black or white. It doesn't really matter. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to, I caught it. Look, I had already changed it to 115 point. And because after I changed the color, it automatically reverted back to 72 on the font size. Oh, goodness. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and click, and of course, it's going to place the lorem ipsum text, okay? And then I'm going to go ahead and delete that out, and they're going to have us type in there typecast. Okay, and I'm going to grab my move tool. And I'm going to make some adjustments here just a little bit. All right. There we go. All right. The next thing that we're going to do is we are going to go to File and Place, Embedded. And I'm going to open up the metal.tif file. Okay, so there's a couple of, there it is right here. Okay, I want to make sure that I have this pulled. It's going to end up being used as a clipping mask. So I'm just going to go ahead and kind of pull it up where it would cover up the type at the top. Okay. And then all I'm going to end up doing, okay, now what you can do is if you would like to transform this to fit, you can. Okay. I just want to make sure that mine is wide enough to cover, so you can kind of see that it's a little bit darker towards the bottom. So however you want to move that in order to use that color combination for your clipping mask, that's entirely up to you. All right, so you can see here that I have my metal layer on top and then my typecast layer underneath. So the only thing that I need to do is to right click. I mean, there's a couple of ways. This is just the easy way. This is the way that I always do it. And I'm just going to right click on my metal layer, and then I'm going to do create clipping mask, and then it automatically creates that for me. Now, how easy is that? Okay, so I also want to show you that coming out, it actually indented, if you will, that layer, and it has an arrow coming out of it that is coming out and going down, so that you can see that this layer is actually connected and clipped to create a mask with the layer underneath of it. So the metal layer is basically creating a clipping mask with the typecast type. Perfect. All right. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to add a layer effect for our typecast layer. Okay, so you can go ahead and double click out here. You can also do the FX button. You can also go up here in the menu bar and choose layer. And then, of course, you can do your effect from there. again, there's multiple ways to accomplish the same task. We are going to end up doing an inner shadow, so you want to make sure that you select that and then turn that on. The blend mode will be multiply. I'm going to leave my preview selected, we might be able to see it as I'm formatting. The opacity is going to be 48%. The angle is going to be 120 degrees. The distance is going to be 18. Choke at 0 and size at 16. Okay, so it kind of really gives it more of a 3D effect, which is very cool. Okay, if we take a look over here on the typecast layer at the far right side, there is the FX that indicates that there is a layer effect that has been applied. In addition to, you can see the effect here, and then underneath and kind of indented, it actually will tell you which layer effect is been applied. Okay, and of course you can toggle those on and off to see them. Perfect. I'm going to do a Control S and save that. Creating type on a path. Okay, so you do have a couple of options, horizontal and vertical. You can also create type on a path that you create with a pen tool or even a shape tool. The direction of the text is going to depend on the order in which anchor points were added to that path, so that's actually kind of important. All right, so let's take a look at what that entails. So I'm going to select my model layer. Okay, and I'm going to open up my paths panel. Okay, and notice that this actually came in with our start file, and there is a path here called a speech path. Okay, so it was created for us. All right, and you can see that the path is created, and it kind of looks like it's just a speech path that's going to come like right out of her lips. So we want to make sure that we grab our horizontal type tool, that is T on your keyboard. Okay, and this is very important. If you miss this step, you're going to need to edit, undo, pull your history panel out, and step back and basically do it the right way. All right, when we did our type for typecast, we used center aligned text. We have to make sure that this is right aligned, and I'll tell you why. First off, because we're going to be clicking like right at the end, and all the text is going to flow this way. Okay, very important. In addition to, we definitely have to make sure that this type stays at 14 point. All right, because the font size, it likes to adjust itself. Even though you tell it it's going to be a certain size, it always wants to adjust itself. So make sure before you begin typing on this path for the first time that you are right aligned and 14 point. Very important. All right, so Myriad Pro still. This is going to just be regular, so you're going to need to change that from the semi-bold. 14 point, we need to change our tracking. Okay, this has got to fit on the line, so we're going to kind of have, I don't want to say crowd it, but we're going to have less space in between these letters. Okay, we do want white, so if you did not choose white up here when you did typecast, maybe yours was black, it really didn't matter what color it was because your metal ended up creating your clipping mask, but you do need to have white. So if you don't have white right now, you need to make sure that you go ahead and select that, and that is at least 3 Fs for the hexadecimal. Okay, you don't have to type all 6 Fs in there, you can just do the 3. All right, and they do want to make sure that we have this in all caps, okay? And I don't think that we need to have the bold on for the whole 9 yards because they're going to have us end up bolding the 3D type, which is just that phrase at the end of each one of these, okay? So again, making sure Myriad Pro regular 14 point. Oh my gosh, we don't want 115 point when we click here. We might get what, 1 or 2 letters on there. All right, we do want right aligned, white text, and all caps. Tracking is a -10, okay? All right, so I'm going to just collapse this out. you want to make sure, and I'm going to zoom in so that you guys can see it as well. Okay. All right. So you want to start as close to the end of this as possible, still making sure that you're 14 point here, you guys, and right aligned. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and click, and notice that it puts the lorem ipsum text on the path. Perfectly fine, not a big deal. Just go ahead and click to delete that. All right, the first line of text that they're going to have us put in there is what's new in 3D type ? Okay, perfect. All right, still making sure that I am maintaining 14 point. Okay, perfect. All right, so we need to bold the 3D type. Actually, I don't think I was supposed to do the question mark. I don't know that to be a fact, but I'm not. All right. So what's new in 3D type? Okay. So you can kind of follow along with the paths panel. Here's the original speech path, and then there is a layer 1 type path because this is what I'm currently working on. Okay. All right. So I'm going to move back over here to the layers panel. And when I click off of that, notice that the type generic layer 1 name is now replaced in what's new in 3D type. Okay, so it should match exactly what is on that speech path. Okay, the next thing that we are going to do is we need to actually just go ahead and duplicate this layer. Okay, so I'm going to right click and I'm going to duplicate. Okay, and basically what I want to take out is this right here. We don't need the word copy. And this we need to change from 3D to web. Okay, now that layer has been duplicated. Okay, I know it may not look like it, but basically what it is that it's duplicated, but it's laying directly on top of this one. Okay, in fact, you can't even see it until we go to move it. So you can use your move tool if you want to, or you can just go ahead and use your arrow key. It's entirely up to you. And I'm just going to use I'm going to select my move tool, and then I'm going to just arrow up so that you guys can see it, because I don't want to move it too far out of the way. Sorry, you guys, the tooltip thing was in the way. Okay, and you can kind of see. Do you see what I'm saying? The layer perfectly duplicated, and it placed an exact copy right on top of it. So with the move tool, you can either grab with the move tool in your mouse and drag it up if you want to, or you can just use your arrow up key. It's entirely up to you. All right, so we need this to match. So I just need to edit this to say web. Okay. All right, so now we have what's new in web type matches this layer, and then of course we have what's new in 3D type on this layer, okay? And then I'm going to click to commit that change. Perfect. All right. I'm going to do an edit and free transform. Okay, and so basically what I want to do is I want to rotate this 15 degrees. Okay. All right, so you can rotate if you want from one of the corners, or you can just type 15 degrees in there. That's entirely up to you, and then press enter. Okay, and click to commit that change. All right, so basically what we're wanting to happen is that we're going to end up having 3 paths that look like they're, kind of coming from her lips. So with this layer still selected, I need to adjust this just slightly So I'm using my move tool and my arrow keys, and I'm just going to kind of arrow this over to kind of get it more in a line. How about that? All right. Now the next thing that I need to do is I'm going to go back and select my what's new in 3D type. Not this one. I'm selecting the original one that I did. Okay, and now I want to duplicate that one, okay, in order to get the third little speak path. All right, I'm going to duplicate that one. And so this one is going to end up having type effects. What is new in type effects? Now this is just giving the layer its name, okay? It's not taking care of what's here on the screen, okay? All right, now remember when you duplicate a layer, it's a pixel for pixel carbon copy. We got to grab our move tool, and then I'm going to use my arrow down key, and I'm just going to kind of arrow that down a little bit. Okay, I know when I transform this, I'm probably going to have to move it again, and that's fine. I have no problem with that. Grab my type tool. And change this to type effects. What's new in type effects? Okay, I'm going to commit that change. Okay, and now I need to do an edit and free transform again. So if we moved the top one 15 degrees, what do you think we would move the bottom one? What do you think? Okay, well, I will tell you. We're actually going to put in there a negative 15 degrees. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and click. You can click done if you want. You can click the check mark up here. It's entirely up to you. And then it will go ahead and it will slide that into position. Okay, yes, I'm going to get my move tool and I'm going to arrow this down just a little bit. Okay, so that it's, there we go. Perfect. All right. Now, if you want to leave a little bit more room in between those, you can. I am totally happy with this. I'm going to do a quick Control S and save. Okay, a helpful hint to remember when selecting type on a screen. I know I mentioned this in a previous lesson. You can double click the thumbnail icon in the layers panel and it will select type on that layer for you. Okay, that can be very helpful because a lot of times the type tool can kind of get away from you, and you can click again and create an additional type layer, which then puts an additional lorem ipsum set of text on your document. And then you've got to get the move tool, select the layer, delete that one out, go back, find the original layer, and then you want to gently get in there and select the text so that you can edit it, delete it, type in its place or whatever. So basically what I am saying is this. On any type layer, you can come over here to the thumbnail in the layers panel and you can issue a double click and it will go ahead and highlight that for you. You can delete it. You can put your cursor in it and edit it, whatever you need to do. Okay, that's just a very easy way and it will help you not add an additional type layer. Okay, all right. I'm going to go ahead and click on to cancel that. Warping point type. Warping lets you distort type to conform to different shapes. This option adds to the creativity you have when working with type and the look that you're trying to achieve for your design. Okay, this is something that I'm going to show you. I'm just going to show you what it looks like, but I'm going to let you guys work these steps. All right, so on one of your type layers, I think you're gonna end up doing this for all three of them, okay? But on one of your type layers, if you right click, there is a warp text option, okay? And if you have to end up removing the bold from that, that's fine. It's not a big deal. All right, so basically the warp text is this, okay? It allows you to choose a certain style. And then once you choose your style, like if you're going to kind of do a wave with this text, all right, you could tell it what kind of bend that you wanted it to have. And if you wanted it to distort, you know, vertically and horizontally what that would look like. You see what I'm saying? So you'll have the opportunity to play around with warping text. I just wanted to show you how you guys could get there. Okay. So it's its own little kind of dialog box, and it is a selection by right clicking and choosing to warp text. Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and cancel that. All right. Now the last thing that we need to do to finish this up is adding paragraph type from a sticky note. Okay, so this is basically under the section in the lesson with designing paragraphs of type. And then of course you're getting some guides in here, and then you're adding paragraph type from a sticky note. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and fit this back on screen. Okay, I had already saved, which was good. All right. So Photoshop allows you to attach text to an image in the form of a sticky note. Okay. In addition, you can copy and paste text. And of course, you know that you guys can just type that right in there yourself. All right. So if we look here, we have a sticky note. Okay. So this is what we're going to end up working with is our sticky note. Okay. All right. And then I believe window and notes is usually the note information is what pops up in here too. And then, well, I think you probably have to have the note open first. All right, you guys. So basically what we want to do first is we got to drag a couple of guides down. Okay, so let's do that first because the type that we're going to get from our sticky note, okay, and basically that's exactly what it is. You can think of it as a sticky note. All right, there is text in here that we are going to copy and paste onto this side right here, and then we're going to format it, and then we will delete that sticky note and get rid of it. Okay. All right, so the book is having us to draw a vertical guide. So the vertical, remember, is up and down, and we're going to pull that about a fourth of the way. So if this is 8.5 inches, a fourth would be 8.25. Okay, so I'm just going to get it as close as I can. That's perfectly fine. And then I need to also drag a horizontal guide down. So this was, you know, the one that's coming from the top, and they want us to drag this down to 2 inches. Well, close enough. All right. So this is what we're going to end up doing here. Okay. All right. So we have our sticky note in the bottom of the corner. Okay. So let's go with our sticky note. All right, you guys. So what we need to do in order to get the information that is inside of our sticky note, we need to be able to get that open. All right. So here's what we need to do. All right. We need to grab our move tool. Okay. And we need to hover over our sticky note until our cursor changes to a white arrow. Okay. Do you see how it is black arrow right now and then it's white? Okay. That's what it needs to be in order to do your sticky note. Okay. All right. And so once I did this, did you see how I did that? See how my arrow, my cursor is a black arrow and then it changes to white? Once it's white, then click on your sticky note, okay? I'm just telling you from personal experience, I don't care what the book says. If you try to do this with a black arrow, it may not work for you, okay? So black arrow with this little plus sign is your move tool cursor. I needed to have the white arrow and then I clicked, okay? So basically what that does then, okay, do you see what I'm saying? I have my notes open. So if you want to go to File and Notes, that'll pop open down here, okay? See how that is, there's nothing. I'm going to click it, and you see the pencil with the type on it. Now, if I open my notes, here's the information that's in here. Okay, it's all of this right here. So you have to have that white arrow that you see right there. Click the sticky note one time. Click it one time, and then go to your notes and open it, and you can copy and paste it from here. Okay, so I'm going to do like a Control X because I'm on Windows. All right, so I think that'd be what? Command X for you Mac folks. All right, so basically what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and do an edit. All right. Now what we're going to do is I am going to, hold on a second. I'm going to just kind of collapse that down. And then, my guide is not wanting to show. All right, here we go. So now I am going to click to create kind of like a text box, if you will. All right, and I'm going to delete that information out of there. This is going to be right aligned, and then I am going to Control V and paste from my sticky note into my text box, okay? Don't ask me why my horizontal guide at 2 inches suddenly disappeared. All right, so here we have it. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on this so that you can see it. Okay. All right, now the book is actually going to tell us exactly how we should format it, okay? And that's the very, very easy part, because remember when we are working with this, there is multiple ways to do this. So you can use your horizontal type tool and use your options bar at the top. You can use your contextual taskbar at the bottom. You have, since the type is actually physically on the document on its own layer, we now have the properties panel. You can also open up and use your character panel. So it really doesn't matter. I mean, you know, you've got lots of options. All right. So we want to make sure that all of those, all the text is in a white color. Okay. Now I'm going to format the first 3 lines. Let me scoot this over so you guys can see it. So these first 3 lines is the trend cast. Okay, we want to make sure that it is Myriad Pro and regular. Okay, this needs to be 70 point. Now notice that the highest there is 72. So you're going to just have to type in 70 point. All right. Now our leading. Okay, now we're going to have to work with a little bit more here in our characters panel. Our leading is what you see here. So basically that's the space in between the trend and cast. Okay, this needs to be 55 point. And notice that there is no 55 point. So you can just type in there 55. The tracking, and that's the VA, that's the space in between the letters, okay, in between the individual characters. They want that to be 50, okay? The color is white, and it still is, and the only word that they want bolded is the word trend, okay? So I'm going to just bold trend. All right, so for the rest of this, which is down here, I need to make sure that the rest of this is Myriad Pro and regular. They want it to be 22 point. The leading needs to be 28. So I'll just choose 24 and then I'll change it to 28. Tracking on this one needs to be 0. The color is already white. They don't want all caps on that. Okay. But they do want us to do, hold on a second, I'm just flipping over to that page. They do want us to come through and select bold, and we need to take in bold what's hot. Okay, and this needs to be 28 point instead of 22 point because you want your little subheadings to stand out. And then we need to come right here and do what's not needs to also be 28 point and bold. Okay. All right. Now we need to scroll back up here and the word trend. They want us to change that font color and they actually give us the RGB and we can do it by RGB or if we want, we can just type in the hexadecimal code that they give us it's going to get us the same color. So that's entirely up to you what you'd like to do. R would be 0, or red would be 0. G for green would be 174. B for blue would be 239. Or you can just type the hexadecimal short code, and that is 00AEEF. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and click OK, and then hit enter. All right, and then I'm going to make sure that that actually took. Okay, all of the text in that text box is going to fit in between, and let me go back and fit this on the screen. It's going to fit in between. Okay, we originally put in 4.25. Okay, a vertical guide at 4.25 at like the very beginning of the lesson. We put one over here about 1/4 of an inch from the right edge, so that would be about 8.25. We did a horizontal down to about 2 inches, give or take. And then with my horizontal type tool, I just drew kind of a text box in there. Yes, I know it put lorem ipsum text in there. I don't care. It was highlighted. I pressed delete, put my cursor in there, made sure I had right aligned, and I pasted. Okay, it pasted exactly the way that it was from my note into my text box. Okay, and so I'm going to go ahead and do a quick Control S there. Okay, perfect. All right, so the sticky note, when you're done, okay, in order to delete it, I believe you have to have, and I'm going to stop here for just a second. Look at my sticky note, you guys. Do you see the black pencil and it has the 3 black lines, but my cursor is the white arrow. That is what you have to have in order to interact with that sticky note, okay? The book keeps telling you it needs to be a black arrow. I need a white arrow, okay? So once you have this done, you can get rid of the sticky note, okay? You could go ahead and click on delete note. Also from here, the note, you should be able to delete it from here as well, okay? And if it doesn't, yep, it did. Like if it doesn't, you can totally right click it on here as well, as long as you have the white arrow and you see the black pencil with the 3 black lines, you can right click and interact with that as well. Okay, so since I got rid of the sticky note now, I'm going to go ahead and do one more Control S. Okay, so I do want to remind you guys that when you get to the portion of this lesson and it says finishing up and it has you go in and delete your little sticky note, what I just showed you, that is not the last page. Okay, I need you to turn the page. All right, and at the top of that page, you'll see the glyphs panel. And at the bottom, notice it still is continuing on from finishing up. All right, finishing up, don't stop with congratulations. You've added and stylized all of the type. Now that the design is ready to go, you'll export a copy to upload to the podcast service. Okay, turn the page. So you will actually be exporting this. You will be saving 07working.psd up through deleting the sticky note, just like I did. Okay, so you're going to do a Control S and save it. All right, and then now you are going to go to File, Export, Export As. There are 2 things you're turning in. All right, you're going to be turning in 07working.psd. You are going to save this as you're going to export as a JPEG. Okay, and you're going to click the export button. You're going to find your homework folder. And you're going to change the name of this to 07 upload. And the save as type will be a JPEG. Okay? And it will go ahead and it will export that. All right? 2 files that you're going to be turning in for this one. Again, 07working.psd and 07upload.jpg. All right? So if you forget the JPEG, I can't give you credit for it. So please make sure you guys are paying attention and you're flipping the page over because steps 4 and 5 are actually on the next page of finishing up. Okay? All right, talking about finishing up, we have just finished up the lesson on typographic design. And so this ends the lesson for us. And if you guys have any questions at all, again, please don't hesitate to let me know.